Welcome back to Raccoon Shitty, where you can't save a country if you don't give a damn about the people in it. I'm Frank, back once again with Thomas to talk about Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, the franchise's first foray into TV shows.
But not the last. The project was first announced at Tokyo Game Show 2020, and for the first time, this CGI Resident Evil project would be a TV show. TMS Entertainment was announced as producing the series with Cubico in charge of the full 3D animation production. TMS Entertainment is a long-standing production company with shows going back to the 1960s, but Cubico was a new CGI animation studio that Resident Evil co-producer Ken Miyamoto established in Tokyo in 2017. Hiroyuki Kobayashi would once again return as a producer for this project, just like pretty much every other film that we've watched in the series.
The animated ones, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, not the live action ones. I think we both want to know why they made this a TV show, because this easily could have just been a movie.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, weirdly enough, it's only 4 episodes, and all of them are less than a half hour. And it really does feel like, because this is something that they released through Netflix, like it's officially distributed as a Netflix original animated series or whatever. I have a feeling this probably was a movie like Damnation and Vendetta and Degeneration. And Netflix probably told them, well, we want to market it as the first Resident Evil TV show or something. You know, because the binge model and blah, 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 blah. I don't know how their internal metrics work. Nobody knows. But I think Netflix was probably responsible for that, because even when you're watching it, the breaks in between episodes feel very sudden. At least at the end of the first episode, I was like, oh shit, this is the end of the episode. Okay. And then, like, by the time you have the credits removed and the intro removed, which Netflix encourages with those skip buttons, you're looking at like 20 minutes an episode. And
Yeah.
it just flows right into the next. It might as well have been the same as watching Vendetta or Damnation, where it's just one 90-minute movie, less than 90-minute movie.
Yeah, if they wanted to really do like a TV show for this, then they should have doubled the amount of episodes. I don't know. It just 4 episodes of like 20 minutes just seems dumb.
Yeah, it seems kind of pointless, but I wouldn't want them to double the episodes, because I found this to be I know you feel the same way. Extremely boring.
They'd have to do like a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Series director Ichiro Hasumi revealed that he set the miniseries before the events of Resident Evil 6 in order to have more freedom with the younger versions of Leon and Claire. He also wanted to make sure that he was careful with their characterizations, as they're popular characters in the franchise. And this is a little misleading because it's actually between 4 and 5. So like it is before 6, but canonically it's between 4 and 5.
I mean, I don't even know why that would matter, because how do you get more freedom placing it between 2 entries we already know versus setting it after 6 where it's just open season?
I think they just wanted to have the young version here, because we do see Leon in sort of a age of his, or like a period of his life that we haven't seen before, because he's like just kind of starting to work more for the government after saving Ashley in 4. So like I feel like he's a bit more on the political spectrum here in this movie, which Claire points out.
Yeah, okay. I mean, like, I'm not against the decision of setting it in the past. I just don't know if the more freedom thing really makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It's not something I have a problem with.
I hate it.
It just seems, I don't know, kind of weird.
A tie-in manga-style graphic novel was announced in October 2020, set to be released alongside the miniseries. However, the series was pushed back to March 18th, 2022, and then September, and then finally moved to December 21st, 2022. And a collection of the issues was released in March 2024.
So that's like really a full funny. 3 years after the Infinite Darkness show comes out. I think Death Island might have already come out by that point, right? Yeah.
They couldn't even release it with the show. It's really funny.
Now that's a crazy Oh, the collection was in 2024. My bad.
Yeah, but
But
I mean,
still, like
still,
a full year, over a
yeah.
full year after the show. Yeah,
I wonder how that happened.
yeah. I have no idea. Somebody was not meeting their deadlines,
The
and
writer's like, "Oh fuck, that was supposed to come out this week."
and like, you know, I hate to say it, but I don't think there's too many Infinite Darkness fans that were waiting at chomping at the bit for this manga to come out. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm gonna buy the deluxe edition.
before we move on to the next section, I just want to quickly ask you: do you think this takes place before uh Degeneration? Like, where would this take place amongst the CGI
Um,
movies? I guess it would be around the same time. I'm just thinking because Degeneration is also Leon and Claire, and it's also before RE5. But
yeah,
in that movie, he does seem more like stoic. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't exactly not seem stoic here.
I feel like this will be after
You think this is after? Okay.
because I'd feel like in that one, Claire and him are more like buddy buddy, and here there's kind of like a bit of a tension between them, and not in the good way.
Yeah, unfortunately. Okay, well, that brings us to the state of movies and Resident Evil at the time of release. As for movies coming out within like a month of this, again, this is a CG animated thing. It's not really competing with these, but just for the context of the time period in which it was released, we have A Quiet Place Part 2, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, F9, The Fast Saga. I totally forgot that was a subtitle for that. What a big fucking piece of shit. I just want to quickly say that is the worst movie I think I've ever paid money to see in a theater. I went to go see it with my dad, and I thought it would just be like, because we had watched Hobbs and Shaw together on like cable or something, and we had a good
That
time
was
with
fun
it.
enough.
Yeah, yeah, we had a good time with that one. That was the only Fast movie I saw besides the first one, which I also like. And so I'm like, okay, I know the series has probably gotten stupider. Hobbs and Shaw is pretty stupid too, but like in a fun way. Fast Nine is fucking awful. I just I need to get that off my chest. We also have Black Widow. We have Space Jam 2, Old, and Jungle Cruise.
With friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, Dwayne Johnson. Uh, we've already recorded a few episodes ahead of time here. Not that there are many left in this series, thank God. But the friend of the show joke, I think we got to maybe retire that because there's been some stuff coming out about who we've called friend of the show Jared Leto in a sarcastic way, but now there's some stuff coming out where I don't like that anymore.
I told you we're gonna change him to disgraced friend of the show.
Oh yes, okay. Well, I don't know. It might be, we might need to put that bit out to pasture. And as far as Resident Evil goes, this is its biggest wave of popularity since the 90s. All of its current, as in 2026, bestsellers come out of the revival era, which we are now living in. That started with RE7, which we discussed a week or two ago. First, there was 2019's Resident Evil 2 Remake, which perfectly blended the atmosphere and story of the original game with the camera system of RE4. And to this day, RE2 Remake is still the best selling game in the franchise. And what a game! Oh my god. RE2 Remake is so good.
It's okay.
It's okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I love that game. That was, I don't know if it's still my favorite. It's really good though.
It is really
It's
good.
like top 3 at least.
I think 2 just has like potentially one of the best atmospheres out of all of them.
And it kind of lets things breathe in a way that I don't think RE9 does. Like my favorite part of RE9 was the section in the asylum with Grace,
Hmm.
and RE2 remake is sort of like if that was like 80% of the game. I know they fucked up the A and B story stuff compared to the original on the PlayStation, but hey, whatever. They nailed the rest of it as far as I'm concerned. And developed concurrently with RE2 Remake, releasing only a year later, was RE3 Remake, which was made by a different team. And it still proved to be a hit despite some complaints from fans about cut content from the original. So again, talking about shit that they got wrong, like In the original RE3, there's like a level in a clock tower, and that was cut completely. Instead, they like expanded the hospital segment and the playable Carlos stuff. I didn't have a problem with that. I played RE3 and beat it the day it came out, and I actually beat it twice. Like I remember the day it came out, I beat it in like 4 or 5 hours, and it was late at night, and I'm like, I don't have to go to school tomorrow. Like I don't have any class, so fuck it. And then I just played through the thing twice in 24 hours on launch. I had a really good time with it. It's not perfect, but you know, the original RE3 was always looked at as kind of an expansion or a lesser version of RE2 anyway. So in that sense, it's a really faithful remake.
I think the only problem I had with it was that it was shorter. It could also just be that there's less going back and forth in 3 compared to 2.
That's true. It does feel pretty linear. And like, I know people criticize what they did with Nemesis, but I will say in his defense, he's still pretty fucking scary in RE3 Remake.
Oh, yeah.
He's still kind of a pursuer, but he is limited to more like segments and doesn't follow you constantly. And I will say in their defense, like they literally did that with Mr. X, you know, the tyrant. So it's like if they did that a year ago and then they did it again here, I'd imagine they'd feel like they're kind of repeating themselves and they probably didn't want to do that. And so they just kind of swapped the tyrant and nemesis roles from RE2 and 3 with the remakes. And I don't have a problem with that because fighting nemesis is still really fun.
And Nemesis is so much more powerful. Like, it makes sense why they don't want to have him following you constantly because he's like a tyrant on steroids.
Oh
It's kind
yeah.
of crazy that Jill would be able to keep away from for that long.
Yeah, even with the new dodge ability, like he is really scary, really tough to fight against. Whereas Mr. X, the tyrant in RE2, like, you know, he walks at a brisk pace and he just punches you. Like that's it. That's the extent of his abilities. He doesn't have tentacles, he doesn't have a rocket launcher, he can't jump across the road to catch up with you. Like
That shit scared me when I first played it because I was like, "Oh, I'll go up on this roof," and then I spent the whole like 2 minutes climbing up on the ladders, and then he just jumps up, and I'm like, "Oh fuck!"
and to lessen the blow of the cut content from RE3 Remake or whatever changes they made, Capcom would bundle in the multiplayer title Resident Evil Resistance. Resistance was an asymmetrical multiplayer game where four survivors would be pitted against a mastermind with the ability to remotely place traps and enemies throughout the level, similar to like a dungeon master in D&D. I can't remember if we talked about this one already, but official support ended in October 2020 and it's now delisted, so you're going to have to go to YouTube if you want to see what that looked like. I remember it being pretty janky, but I thought the premise was really cool. And the last game to come out before Infinite Darkness, again, we might have already talked about it, was Resident Evil Village, which came out in May 2021, going to the full on action gameplay that the series had gotten flack for with RE6, but with plenty of first person survival horror that RE7 had recentered the franchise around. So, yeah, Village was good. Big fan of Village. It's not my favorite, but I really liked it. I played through the whole thing on stream. You can go watch that on FrankBroadcasts if you want. What do you think of Village?
I like it. I like that it has a continuing story from 7, and I really like Ethan and his story through both of them.
Yeah,
Ending
and
makes me sad.
yeah, I was gonna say I like that it has a definitive ending for that character and kind of wraps up the threads from 7. It was cool. Yeah, I mean the castle I think is obviously the best part, and it kind of falls off a little bit from there. But I do like most of the other areas. I think the dollhouse is cool for that one particular sequence in the basement, and Heisenberg is I don't know, kind of fucking insane. In
I
like a
like his area though.
yeah, that's what I mean. His like assembly line of cyborgs. I think if I had one area that didn't really work for me, it's probably the like
The fish guy.
yeah the fish guy the lake or whatever. It just feels very linear, very set piecey, which I guess you could also say about like the Donna Bellaviento house. Is that it's
Benaviento.
I was gonna say I'm probably butchering it, but yeah, not a bad game.
Did you ever
Kind
do
of
the DLC for that one?
I never did, no.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I
It's
should go
short.
back and stream that sometime.
Yeah. It's like maybe 4 hours max.
But anyway, that brings us to the plot synopsis and discussion of Infinite Darkness. Uh,
Oh boy.
it is a TV series, technically, so we're breaking it down by episode, but it's basically just a movie. So, Thomas, why don't you start us off with episode 1?
In 2000, a U.S. helicopter is shot down in the country of Panamstan. Its crew is attacked by the local people. Despite their contrary orders, the Mad Dogs unit lands and tries to save the crew. 6 years later, Claire works as an aid worker in Panamstan, where she discovers hints that the survivors of the ongoing conflict were exposed to bioorganic weapons. Afterwards, the White House is attacked by a hacking incident, followed by several employees being infected, with hints pointing towards China. Leon, Shenmei, and Jason, the hero of Panamstan, are dispatched with a submarine for a covert mission. Before leaving, Leon encounters Claire at the White House, who informs him of her discovery. Is that really all that happens in the first episode?
Sure feels like it. I watched all 4 of them this morning, and the first one felt like nothing pretty much happened. Like, all the Panamstan,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I don't think they're consistent with the way they pronounce it in the movie across characters, but it just felt like kind of nothing to me. Like, it felt like, hey, we want to do like a Black Hawk Down type thing, and it's like, well, you kind of already riffed on that in RE5 a little bit, at least aesthetically. Um, I don't know. It was just kind of a nothing for me. I mean, it was good to see Claire again. The White House attack did surprise me a little bit because doesn't that happen in RE6? Or the president's infected at
No.
least. Maybe he's not at the White House.
Yeah, he's not at the White House.
But yeah.
It's kind of crazy that they had that happen at the White House, which is like supposed to be one of the most secure places. But
Yeah.
I don't like. Yeah, the I also didn't. I don't think I saw that it said it in 2000, so I was a little confused when it like jumped forward.
Yeah, I don't remember that either, but that that just makes it even more like Black Hawk Down. That movie
And
came out in
then
2001, I think.
the whole Claire thing. Honestly, Claire throughout the whole show felt like tacked on. She does not do much.
No. No,
She kind of
and
shows up in this and then is gone until like episode 4.
yes. Uh well, I think she has something to do in 3, but yeah, it feels kind of like what Lois Lane had to work with in BVS, where it's like she's just kind of there, like the theatrical cut. You know, like she's barely in the movie. Like she's doing investigative stuff, but like I don't know.
Just to
I
move the plot along.
Yeah, I kind of expected her to be like as much of a protagonist as Leon, and I don't know why by this point I'm still expecting that when I'm going into a Resident Evil project because it seems like Kobayashi really has a hard on for Leon. Like he's been the producer behind all of these CG animated films, and Leon is the constant between every single one of those projects. I wish Claire had more to do across all 4 episodes. That's definitely one of my complaints. Other than it just being so fucking boring.
Yeah, I mean, I went in. I was thinking they'd be working together, and then
Yeah,
they don't even meet until like the
the
last
last
couple
5 minutes or
minutes.
something. Yeah, it's baffling that they would market it this way.
They also like kind of from the get go. I definitely noticed that the animation and production of this felt kind of like a lot lower quality compared to some of the other stuff.
See,
Like
that's interesting because I was gonna say I actually thought like in terms of like graphical fidelity, I thought it looked really good.
I think it might have just been like sometimes the lighting was just not good. I had another one too. There was like they kept doing these like panning shots like they did one in the Oval Office, and you can't see anything, and it felt really lazy. Like they just didn't even bother like planning any shots. They were just like, we'll just pan through the office slowly, and people will be talking.
Mm,
And they did that several times throughout the movie, or I'm sorry, show.
yeah, it's a show. No, I agree. The cinematography is not as exciting or dynamic as it was in Vendetta. There is one shot that stuck out to me though. I don't remember which episode, so I just want to throw it out here before I forget to address it. But there was one where it was Leon and Claire, I think, and they're like running down a hallway after like jumping out of an elevator that got stuck, And then like the like fake camera climbs down the elevator while running behind them, as if it's a real camera person
Mhm.
following them through like an obstacle, which I thought was fun. But that's like the only shot in the show that sticks out to me.
Must be in episode 4.
Yeah, it has to be. I'm good to move on. Are you?
I mean, they had that guy Patrick that showed up in this episode and then showed up again at the end. And I will say I was surprised because I was expecting him to die immediately, but he did kind of actually handle himself against the zombies, and he didn't die.
Yeah.
I actually would like to see him more of him, but then they just kind of sidelined him. So
All right. Well, episode 2 starts with Leon, Jason, and Shenmei heading into their submarine, going into Chinese waters while Claire researches into what happened to the Mad Dogs. Their mission is also shown during a flashback in which the Mad Dogs rescued a survivor, but could only bring back his infected body. Why would they do that? While on the submarine, rat like BOWs attack and kill the crew. Leon, Jason, and Shenmei evacuate the submarine together in an escape pod before it self destructs. The destruction is blamed on a nearby Chinese fleet by Defense Secretary Wilson. It is revealed in a Shanghai safe house that Shenmei and Jason are working together to expose Wilson for his involvement in Panam Stan, where the Mad Dogs were infected when they interfered with the testing of BOW soldiers. Leon refuses to help Jason and Shenmei. As he confronts them, he apparently shoots Jason to death while Shenmei escapes.
this
The
is cutting out
standout,
that they killed everyone on the crew. Like they were killing crew too, Jason and Shenmei, because he like
yeah,
stabbed that guy in the throat.
I was gonna say it makes them seem a lot more sympathetic in this summary,
Mm-hmm.
but the standout to me in this episode were the BOW rats. I really liked those.
Yeah, they were pretty cool.
They were like a cool design. They were kind of scary because of how quickly they can move and how small of a target they are to hit. Like I couldn't imagine fighting those things in the games. Oh my god. Uh, and it's also like kind of a nice callback, probably not intentionally, to Biohazard 40 Executor because I believe that also had a
Mm,
rat that was infected with whatever Dr. Cameron had, the
yeah,
T
I think
virus or G
so.
virus or whatever.
The C virus.
C virus. Okay, yeah, I could, who remembers? Uh, but yeah, other than that, I don't know. I mean, like a submarine is a pretty interesting location that they've never used before as a set piece in one of these games.
Yeah,
At least the ones I've played. But again, the story is pretty whatever. You know, they kind of set up in episode 1 that like Jason, at the very least, is someone who has survivor's guilt. I wasn't expecting him to make like a heel turn. I mean, you can argue as to whether or not he's actually the villain of this story, but uh, yeah,
I. It just like they have this whole thing where in the first episode they're like, "Oh, it's China," and I'm like, "Okay, so you're going too hard on saying it's China. I already know it's not China." Like they didn't even try to make it like I don't know. It's just like it's not gonna be China. They're just blaming China. Do you know what I mean? Like the way they just jump so quick to China,
yeah, yeah.
and then in this one too, when they're like they show the mission during the flashback, it pissed me off because they literally do like the same first 3 to 4 minutes that they showed in the first episode, and I'm like, really, we're reusing this
You think
recycled
they were just?
content in a 22-minute episode?
Do you think they were just padding it out for time because they needed to cut it into 4 episodes?
Probably, or they're like, oh, maybe someone watched episode 1 and they don't remember.
Yeah, which is a weird instinct to have because this was being distributed by Netflix, the company that single handedly popularized the binge model of viewing television. So it's like these people don't need a recap. They're going from one episode right into the next. And there's only 4, and they're all
Hmm.
less than a half hour.
They couldn't even just cut it down into like 30 seconds. They played the whole scene again. Also weird that they saved that guy. I mean, I know they kind of go into it later, but they're like, "Oh, he's torn to shit and he has like no arms or legs." And I'm like, he's done so. Did you think that Leon not helping was in character?
I honestly no. I mean, I'm not sure what to make of that because like, you know, they do kill people on the submarine and stuff, and like they're not the most black and white like heroes, but they are trying to expose corruption in the US and like reveal, you know what I mean? Like they are at the end of things, I think, on the right side of history. So it was kind of weird to see Leon say like, no, we're not gonna like it's weird because like Leon's whole thing, along with Chris and everybody else in the series, every protagonist is like they are against POWs. That's their whole ethos as
Hmm.
characters, as heroes. They're supposed to be like stopping the development and use of POWs and the spread of them. And at the end of the day, that is what Jason and Shenmei are doing. It does seem contradictory.
The only thing I can think of is like that it's trying to show that he's more on the side of the government since he's working for them so much. Like how Claire goes in the last one, like that outfit doesn't suit you because he's not helping her or something.
Yeah.
But
I I guess if they're trying to paint Leon as more of a villain or something because he's working with the government and maybe he's like selling out in a sense.
mhm.
Or maybe it's as simple as, "Oh, I agree with your reason, but I don't agree with your methods." You know, I don't know, but
I feel like he
it
didn't even hear them out though.
no,
He just
no.
immediately started shooting. I didn't think it was very in character, but it might just be part of the movie. The only other note I have is that when he was electrocuting those rats, he had the same look on his face that Hammond had in Jurassic Park. He was like way too excited about it. As it went on, I took less notes.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be real. I have 0 written notes, I think for the first time ever. Uh I just it just kind of went through me like fast food. Like I didn't really there's nothing really to take away from this. And
No,
not to spoil next week's episode, but between this and Welcome to Raccoon City, 2021 is maybe the nadir of Resident Evil as a television and film franchise. Because Welcome to Raccoon City is just as empty to me. Like it feels like there's nothing really to talk about.
I feel like I'd rather watch that one at least than this one.
Oh yeah, same here. But still, it's a big downgrade from Vendetta.
Yeah, definitely. So in episode 3, Claire investigates the house of the last survivor of the Mad Dogs besides Jason, but he has already killed himself. It is revealed that the unit's soldiers were infected during their mission in Panamistan, which I don't think is necessarily true, but we'll talk about it after. Meanwhile, Leon follows Shenmei to her grandfather's home. After he forces his way in, it is revealed that Shenmei's brother was the soldier that was saved by the Mad Dogs, but he was already infected with the virus and turned when the Mad Dogs brought him back to base. Shenmei's grandfather later brought him to China, and the Mad Dogs worked as Wilson's private military force to keep being supplied with medication to stop their own infection from breaking out. Shenmei, working together with Jason, tried to expose Wilson. As Shenmei offers Leon the information to expose Wilson, the house is destroyed and Shenmei's grandfather and brother are killed. Leon and Shenmei escape with the evidence and prepare to expose Wilson, while Claire is captured by Wilson's men after she tries to confront him about his actions. I guess it was like kind of cool, but also kind of weird that Shenmei and Jason had like a relationship before because they didn't seem to be very close in the first place. And then I guess really the only other thing I have like two other things, but I cannot believe that that poor bastard was still alive in China. I was like, just kill him, dude. Come on. He has no arms or legs and he's a zombie for like 10 years. And she's got like so defensive. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? He could literally start an outbreak.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it across several episodes of Raccoon City at this point, but in Resident Evil, like outbreaks happen so fucking often, and BOWs are such a constant threat looming over everybody's lives. There is no time for shit like this. Like you, like everyone needs to be cremated a fucking second after they die in this universe.
It says in here it's talking about like the Mad Dogs are infected, but which makes it sound like they were unknowingly infected, but it's just because they were bit by like the zombies.
Yeah,
But it was kind of interesting that they had like Wilson holding the medication over them. That was like maybe one of the more interesting things it did.
yeah, I guess.
But
I
we
I
don't
mean,
even know Wilson that much.
yeah, we don't. And one of the other problems is like this is not the first time the franchise has pulled this card where like there's an evil politician. Like the very first animated film Degeneration has like a corrupt US senator who's working with, I believe he's working with Wesker, right? Or he's like Tricell, even if he doesn't know that it's Wesker. And then
Yeah.
you have the president or prime minister or whatever in Damnation who's using the Civil War as a cover for the BOW stuff she's doing. Uh so it's not the first time this has happened. So it's like as soon as we see this US politician show up, I had a feeling he was, going to be a villain because they've already played this card twice.
Yeah, it was one of the things I had a problem with. It was like, this one didn't do anything really that new. It just seemed like a rehash of other plot lines from other movies or games.
Like I think the submarine with the the rat BOWs is the highlight of the entire thing for me. Just because it's like, hey, an enemy type that we've never seen in anything before. Like this could be fun. Even though we did technically see it in Biohazard 40 Executor, but that was, such an obscure thing.
I guess I was just kind of confused at the end why they had the chip and then didn't go public with it.
Yeah, I mean I think it ties into like what you were saying about Leon kind of being a government stooge now. And it's like he's thinking for the greater good and to protect the United States, I can't allow this to be published.
Maybe, yeah.
But like that's not his decision to make. Anyway, I guess we should just move into episode 4 since we're already talking about it and it's the more interesting of the last two episodes. Uh Episode 4 begins with Claire awakening in a laboratory after being captured by Wilson's men, while President Graham prepares a peace accord with the government of Penamstan. Wilson reveals that he is breeding super soldiers to use them against the enemies of the United States. Wilson then tries to convince Claire to cooperate with him, but she refuses. Jason reappears and turns into a BOW as Leon and Shenmei arrive. Jason infects Wilson and fights with Leon and Shenmei as he tries to reveal himself to the world. Leon rescues Claire after Jason kills Shenmei. Both of them work together to stop Jason from revealing himself, while the laboratory is destroyed by acid. Leon and Claire escape while Graham makes the peace agreement with Penamstan. Wilson remains in hiding while having to use inhibitors provided by Tricell. After recovering, Leon and Claire part ways as Leon refuses to publish the information regarding Wilson's plot, vowing to use it to stop further usage of BOWs. Right, so we already talked about Leon's decision at the end there. Uh, I mean, like, the other thing too is that Wilson never shows up again, right? He's not an RE6, is he? Or 5?
Maybe 6, but I don't think so.
Because I feel like this is a guy they made up for the movie. If he showed up in 5 or 6, it wouldn't be a twist because people would have already played those years before this came out.
Yeah.
So I think this is an original character who's never going to show up again. And it's like, what is the harm in Leon exposing this guy? Or even just him getting his comeuppance? Because it's kind of like an unsatisfactory way for his character to bow out of this movie. It's like he gets to live and all he has to do is just take some shots from Tricell to keep his condition under control. And it's like, well, that sucks. Like that's not a I want to see this guy get his just desserts, and that is not this.
Yeah, he doesn't face any repercussions for anything he did, which usually they do.
And they you talk about recycling beats from other animated films. They're using the same thing they used with Curtis from Degeneration with Jason. Like he's infected and he turns into a BOW in the final act. And unlike, I mean, I guess Curtis had the problem of like sort of looking too much like Birkin, but his final two forms looked more different. But Jason, I guess he looks different, but to me, he kind of looked like a bad guy in Diablo or something. Like he did not look like a BOW. He didn't look like he belonged in Resident Evil at all.
What they should have done was make him more like his, maybe like zombie, but kind of like dog, because he was part of the Mad Dogs.
Maybe.
I didn't hate the design.
No, I mean, I don't hate it. I just think it feels weird, It doesn't feel like a Resident Evil design.
No.
And I guess, making that kind of comment in the same year that Village comes out and has more fantasy, like literal storybook shit, but that's a whataboutism, It's like, I don't know. I didn't like that Claire was a damsel in distress. Not only did they just do that with Rebecca in Vendetta, which is something I didn't like about that movie, but it's like she knows how to handle herself. It kind of sucks that once again, this series has a woman strapped to a chair waiting for Leon to rescue her. It's just gotten really tired for me at this point.
They were like, "Ah, we don't know what to do with her. Just put her in a chair. It's whatever." I was really I was, happy, I guess. Made me laugh when it happened that they somehow found a way to include a giant underground lab.
Oh yeah, you have to. You have to.
It was very funny to me. And then they just start pouring acid in, and I'm like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah, the acid was really funny.
I don't know if Jason coming back really worked for me because I didn't understand like what he was just trying to show himself, and then that would cause panic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is like on one hand, it's like BOWs are so normalized in this world that it wouldn't be a big twist. I guess the big twist is that it's the US government or like this senator doing it directly. But it's like I don't know. Maybe I'm just too cynical, but I feel like in the United States, there's so many people who would already assume in this world that the United States are using BOWs.
He's not a senator; he's the defense secretary.
Whatever. That's even, whatever. That my point is like BOWs are such a normal thing in this franchise. Would it really surprise Americans to learn that the US government has been using and experimenting on BOWs?
No,
When we have, the nuclear arms race, the space race, fucking AI, oh, we need to do it first, otherwise China's gonna beat us to it. And it's like with how cynical the US population is and how likely we are to believe conspiracy theories about and be critical of our own government, I agree it doesn't work as well as it could have.
he's just like talking about terror and fear, and I'm the whole time like through this whole episode, I'm like, I don't really know what he's trying to do,
Yeah. I
but
don't
he
know,
just
yeah.
they act like they know, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
And I don't hate the idea of his character, like the idea of a US soldier uh having regrets and survivor guilt over like US military operations and secret uh evil shit that we were doing behind the scenes. Like that's on paper that's really good.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel like it's articulated very well. No, not at all.
and maybe part of that could be that it was just 4 episodes. If it was a better story that could have stretched out over more, maybe it'd be better. I don't know.
I think you're giving him too much of a pass with that explanation because I think if it was a 90-minute movie, other people could have made it work, I think it's just, and I don't even know if you could blame localization. I think it's just poor writing. That's
That's
basically it.
yeah. I don't have any other notes.
Leon and Claire almost make out, I think, in this episode,
Oh,
but then they,
the weird landing thing that they
yeah,
do.
and then they don't,
Yeah,
and that's a shame. Not that I like Leon very much in this movie, but I'm uh I'm always rooting for the Leon and Claire ship. So would have been nice. Doesn't happen. Uh, and then they go their separate ways. It's a very unsatisfying ending.
kind of felt like rushed. Like they didn't even
Yeah,
have a good idea for the ending.
yeah,
And then they just end with like a 3 minute shot of Leon walking to the White House for some
yeah.
reason.
I don't know.
It made me think that they were like, for some reason, it made me think that he was going to become president. Like if I had seen that without knowing how any of this stuff happened, it's like he wants
Oh
to be
man,
president or
you
something.
know, look, you've just introduced this idea. I could absolutely see like RE12 having President Leon S. Kennedy,
That'd be awesome.
and he would still be a protagonist, and he would just be fighting off an attack in the White House, like in this film. Like it would be like the opening of Saints Row 4 or something, and it would be that ridiculous. But I would not put it past Capcom to do something like that.
That'd be really funny. I'd like to see that maybe.
I don't know if I'd like to see it in the sense that I think they should do it, but if
It'd
they
be
did do it,
enjoyable.
I would be curious. Yeah. And so I guess that brings us to did it work? Did it work as a TV show? No.
No. And did it work as a tie-in film between the events of RE4 and 5? I don't know. I think the only thing that would tie in would be the Tricell.
I guess, but like it's also like we already got that in the first CG movie they did. A Tricell reference.
Yeah, and RE5 came out more than 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2009. So like it, I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of like when they teased Darth Maul at the end of Solo, and it's like that guy was already killed in like a cartoon for kids on Disney Plus or something.
I think that's just kind of a problem with all these films is that they place them in between games that already happened. So it's like, can anything really that important happen?
That's an excellent point because it's like we know what the status quo looks like. Like Vendetta had a massive outbreak in New York City, but by the end of the film the entire thing is reversed because going into RE6, there's no history of an outbreak in New York. It's never mentioned. Whatever they do in these movies, they either have to just make it so low stakes that it never will come up, or if it is something larger stakes, it gets completely reversed. And I just think that it's unfortunate because if they wanted to, they could push the story forward with these movies, and then the games would acknowledge those and go from there. But I think the problem is the people working on the games are higher up in the chain, and they're
Hmm.
never going to defer to the people making these movies as far as where the story goes for the franchise.
They're probably not even communicating that much.
And probably not.
The super like military heavy plot was kind of like, I want to see zombies, not the military.
And I think that's like a big misstep that the franchise has corrected at this point. Like RE5 pushes things into more like a modern military shooter direction. Six continues there. The animated movies were already going in that direction, but we talked about it with Vendetta. This movie is acting as if Resident Evil is still stuck in that action movie mindset. And that might be one of the reasons why they decided to set it between 4 and 5. Because if they were to set it after 6, between 6 and 7 or something, don't you dare. But if they did that, it's like, I don't know, the tone of the franchise has changed. It's course corrected. And in these movies, they're still acting like it's 2012.
Yeah.
Why don't they just try to make one that's horror?
The only other thing I can think of would be to like pull a 7 and 8 where they have these animated movies follow a new character.
Yeah,
Which then would there'd be stakes for these characters because we don't know if they're alive or not in the current canon.
that's true. They could always just come up with their own protagonist and then build off of that and have that protagonist have their own continuity of stories and their own supporting cast. And if they go completely unacknowledged by the games, that's fine. I mean, it means that the people making the movies can keep doing their own thing. The people doing the games can do their own thing. And if they do decide to mention stuff from the movies, that would make fans of the movies happy, but you're not beholden to any sort of continuity that's not your own in either production's case. That's a good idea. They should have been doing that from the start.
I just don't know if they would view. I mean, it is kind of a big risk to take, and I feel like as we've gone on, we don't really have the numbers, but I feel like the amount of people watching them falls each release. So I don't know if they probably don't want to take a big enough risk to have that where they put in like a new character.
I mean, maybe you're definitely right. The viewership between these CG movies has gotten lower and lower with every entry. At least going from like the home release sales that we have records of. Um Maybe a new character is exactly what they needed. I mean,
Maybe.
look at RE7 with Ethan. Like RE7 is one of the best-selling games in the franchise, very well received, and it's got a completely new character. That's not the only reason why it succeeded, not even close, but it definitely helps that it's not bogged down with all this continuity. I mean, imagine jumping into Resident Evil or just like watching this movie and it's like this is your first exposure to the series.
Yeah, I'd be like, isn't this supposed to be about like zombies?
Yeah. Like why is it a political thriller? Like what is happening? Who are like they vaguely mention or gesture towards Raccoon City, but you don't really know who these people are.
They always do. That's like they're like whenever Leon's in the movie, they're like Leon Kennedy from Raccoon City. I guess we'll just get on to the aftermath of release.
Yeah, let's do
Let's
that.
check to see what the critical and audience response to this film was. So on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a critic score of 55% and an audience score of 42%.
Yeah. And
Critic score is higher than I would have thought.
okay, so this is a 55 critic score and a 42 audience score. This makes it the second second highest or third highest. For some reason, like we talked about, Damnation's got a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. But if you ignore that weird fluke, Degeneration's got a 67, and then this would take second place. Vendetta had a 43.
That's crazy.
This has 42 audience score, which is the lowest audience score of any of the animated films on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. This is a TV show, not a movie.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
This actually has the highest and the lowest for TV shows.
Yeah. They found a new way to like cheat the ratings. It's like, we've never done a TV show before. It's our highest rated TV show.
On Metacritic, it doesn't have a Metascore because there's not enough registered critics who reviewed it, but it has a user score of 5.1.
The lowest user score that we have on record. Vendetta was a 6.9. Nice. And Damnation and Degeneration both didn't have any. Like there were no user scores listed. Maybe not enough users had reviewed it. I have no idea. So I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird case. And of course, like always, there's no cinema score.
Yeah, no cinema score. Like with all Netflix projects, there's no concrete, trustworthy data when it comes to how much the show cost or how well it did in terms of ratings, etc. So we can't really get any information on how well it did on the service.
Yeah, it's like we talked about in the DCPU. You know, once shit goes straight to streaming, you're not beholden to box office performance analytics or Nielsen ratings like you would on a traditional like television set. So they can really just make up their own numbers. We don't have any public information. They don't share that in like shareholder meetings. And I've said it like 5 times across the podcast, but I feel like that's fraud. But whatever.
We know at least 2 people watched.
Right. But regardless of how it performed internally, Capcom would go ahead with another computer animated Resident Evil film, Death Island, which we'll be covering in a few weeks. But Infinite Darkness wasn't the only Resident Evil movie, show, whatever, to release in 2021. Because after 5 long, painful years, Constantine Film would make a triumphant return to the silver screen with the franchise's first live-action reboot, Welcome to Raccoon City.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to leave a like and share it with your friends, and rate us 5 stars wherever possible. And let us know your thoughts on Infinite Darkness or anything else we talked about this week in the comments below. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.